Welcome to the first ever episode of Bookshop Hunters, where we will explore the finest bookshops across the globe. Today we find ourselves in sunny Edinburgh, the home of Edinburgh Castle, yours truly and many a bookshop. Let the hunt begin. First up, we come across a very common species, which is a Waterstones. You'll find them in most main cities. However, I do think that this one has some attributes that are worth checking out. Let's go into the belly of the beast. Upon entering this fairly sizable beast, you will be greeted with a room of tables. And upon these tables, you will find many of the new releases, as well as their special deals. A tempting temptress, this one. This is an ancient beast, and the architecture reflects that very well, with this grand staircase moving up to the floors above. With slightly less tables, we can now see more creativity in the layout of the bookshop. We have shelves upon shelves, and wait, what is that guy doing? Oh, okay. And if you continue up to the top floor, there is a cafe. And from this cafe, you have this grand bay window looking over the Edinburgh High Street. And not only that, but the castle itself. This is truly the standout of this bookshop. The grand view from this cafe window is just beautiful. Mwah! But the question is, where does Waterstones fall on this scale? First up, we have aesthetics. Now, from an aesthetic standpoint, Waterstones is a fairly good looking beast. This old stone building, this really nice staircase leading up between the different floors really makes it feel grand. Not to mention the cafe with the castle view. So out of 10, I would give Waterstones a solid 7. It's a good looking bookshop with some interesting elements, but fairly standard. Next up, we have stock and variety. And Waterstones does have a good amount of different sections, most of which being fairly sizable. However, it's fairly bog standard stock for a shop of this size. There aren't very many signed editions or special editions. They only do hardbacks of new books. There's no second-hand section or even indie section. Solid stock and a good variety, but not many standouts. So Waterstones gets a 5. Next up, we have creativity and uniqueness. Now, like I said, this is a really nice looking old stone building with a unique shape, and I really like the bay window and cafe area. However, again, aesthetically it is very simple. But I will give some points to the kids section, which in particular looks like they've done some extra work to really make stand out and for the kids to enjoy. So because of that, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Accessibility. Now, Waterstones is based on the main high street of Edinburgh. Can't get much more accessible than that. While the bookstore does take place over several floors, there is an elevator. The only thing that makes it slightly less accessible is the close together tables on that first floor is probably fine for 99% of people. So I'm going to give Waterstones a 9 out of 10. And lastly, does it stock Harbinger of Justice? Sadly, not. Which means it gets a negative 100 points. Bringing the total to minus 73. Not a bad score at all. Next up, we have Toppings Co. And I know you're thinking, Andrew, that's probably a dessert store. It's not. It's a books. Upon entering this fine establishment, you are welcomed into a room with tall shelves and domes of pure light. Like most species, this is where you will find the new books, However, unlike some of the others, there are signed editions, as well as exclusive sprayed edges editions. Spicy. Most are just open, but some of these bookshelves have glass casing for the collectible books. Then if we go upstairs, it truly feels like an endless maze of different rooms containing different types of books for you to explore, all interconnected through passages and doors. And they think they fooled us, but we found it. This is most definitely a secret door. But we couldn't find the lever. Aesthetics get a solid 8. Between the globes of pure light, the ceiling to floor shelving, the variation in layout, and maze-like upstairs, this is one of the better looking bookshops in Edinburgh. And not only that, but it has ladders. You can stand and climb on the ladders to go to the higher shelves. Pretend that you are... What Disney princess is it? I'm gonna Google it right now. You can stand atop the ladder and pretend to be Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I knew I should have brought my dress. Stock and variety is good, with not only different genres, but also different formats. So we have collectible books, hardbacks, signed editions, sprayed edges editions, leather-bound books, a bit of everything. So I'm going to give Toppings a 7. For creativity, I really like the maze design. Using this old townhouse with lots of different rooms, the ladders, really nice aesthetic, but nothing that really jumps out. So I'm going to give it a solid 6. As for accessibility, it's got a good location, ramps, an elevator onto the second floor, so I'm going to give them a 9. And last, but most certainly not least, do they stock Harbinger of Justice? No, so negative 100 points. Bringing the total to negative 70. There's a storm brewing, but that won't stop us. Nothing will stop us from the hunt. I wonder if they do naked hardbacks. Anyone that names their bookshop after the city must be good. Hell. We'll go across the road, but we don't need to film that. We're good. We're good. I've heard of Adrian, but this doesn't seem right. It'll make sense to nerds. It just doesn't make sense to you. He's like a sci-fi author, but it's like a different language, but it's like notes because it's music. I think someone will find it funny. Edinburgh Books is pure chaos. Between the random shelves, watching eyes, and second floor that goes down into a basement of even more books, the design is just chaos. So I'm going to give aesthetics a 6. This is a second-hand bookstore with some really old books, so the stock is fairly limited, so I'm going to give stock 4. Creativity just for the pure chaos gets a 6, and as for accessibility, the location of the bookshop is good, but because this is an old building and it has a wooden rickety staircase that leads down into the basement with no elevator, I'm going to give Edinburgh Books a 5. And does it stock Harbinger of Justice? No. So minus 100 points, giving us the total of negative 79.
Funny.
That's right, next up we do indeed have Blackwells. Another very common bookstore, but this one is huge. Books like this. See if you open up. It's a pretty chunky book. Looks like that's going to take you a long time to read. If you open it, look at the size of the font and the margin sizes. Huge. And that's why they do it on purpose, to make it a page turner. So, I flew through 100 pages. It's probably like 50 pages normally. Next time we're buying a thriller. That's why it's so big. I am mightily impressed by Blackwells books. Variation in layout. 3 different floors with different looking designs and different books, branching rooms. This place just seems to go on forever. It is huge. And little book nooks by the windows and a cafe downstairs. It is plain and simple but extremely effective. I'm going to give aesthetics a 7. Equally, the stock and variety is extremely impressive. Each area is very expansive, with shelf upon shelves for even things like manga and board games. It doesn't have indie, and it doesn't have second hand. They don't really do signed editions, but they do have hardbacks, as well as paperbacks, and just the amount of different formats and unique niche topics. The stock is mightily impressive. I'm going to give them an 8. For creativity, again, lots of variation in the layout. I even found Nessie, so I'm going to give them a 7. Accessibility is almost a 10. They have elevators between floors, they have ramps, they have seats that go up just this different staircases. However, they do have some branching rooms that don't have ramps or chair lifts. However, 99% of the shop is accessible and has got a very good location, 9 out of 10. Lastly, does it stock Harbinger of Justice? No, so minus 100 points. Giving us the strongest total of episode 1 of Bookshop Hunters with a negative 69. And so, we conclude the hunt for episode 1 of Bookshop Hunters. But this was far from extensive, and the hunt will continue in episode 2. So let me know, what foul beasts should we hunt next? No stone will go unturned. No path will remain untrodden until we find the ultimate bookshop. Gonna find more bookshops.
What did you say?
I don't know, man. I'm not getting my mic on.